mighty right. No problem whatsoever. We are small but mighty right now. And so I'll just begin to share some of just our PowerPoint and then walk you through some of my thoughts and things that I've discussed with my boss. And over the years, I've been here for, well, in this position in one way or another for 5 years, spent several years as interim, as many of you know, and then last year was elevated to permanent director. So it's my pleasure to serve students and my colleagues. So let me just get started with this because I could talk all day and I don't want to give people a chance to ask questions if they have. There we go. Hey, and I love sharing PowerPoints, but I also like seeing everyone. So forgive me if I'm looking around. Nice to see people's faces. So let me begin here. We've had several transitions in our office recently, people retiring, people being promoted, which I'm really happy and proud that some people have been able to do that from my office, from our office. So here we are today. And so this is our current staff. And so we have James Hearns and Nanette McCleary and Arlinda Pringle. You can see that what their focuses are, but obviously they do a lot of other things. And then we just acquired some new support staff. And so one of our student assistants who was just amazing, Marissa Villafranca, she is now our technician and does some receptionist work for us. And we just hired Eileen Penna, who is doing our office services clerk work. And both of them report to Arlinda Pringle, who is the supervisor for our support team. And then we have our student assistants who the work that they do in our office will continue to be elevated as we create a career ambassador program, which I'll talk a little bit about more. And you'll see more about that as we continue to transition and do our work differently and reimagine how we do. So we have someone who does our social media, and then we have two Ali, our other students who, Ali and Shiva, who not only they do some of the social media as well, but they really are part of the work that we do sometimes when we go to facilitate workshops or represent our office across campus. So you may see them. So that's who we are. That's our mission. It continues to change, but in essence, our mission is to help our students design their life, right? To transition successfully from their college to the career in a way that they're able to, based on everything they've learned while they're here at Wayne State, take that knowledge and then, utilize it as they're transitioning in employment and career as an entrepreneur, whatever it is they choose to do. Just a quick overview, and like I said at the end, people or interrupt me, ask questions. I'm always open to that. These are many of the things that we do. Moving more in the last few years, have been making it less about a transaction and more about building relationships with our students. And so the one-on-one work that we do with our students is pretty important. Obviously, we do career counseling. We help our students with their resume, with their interviewing techniques, but really try to do it, I believe, in a way that really makes our students feel like we care about them and that their experiences are important to this whole process. And many of you know that we have Handshake, which is a tool that's utilized by several universities, many universities. I think 12 of the 15 public universities use Handshake, which I describe sometimes as it's a platform and it's a cross to me between like LinkedIn and Indeed. So every student that comes to Wayne State will have the opportunity to register for Handshake, build their profile, add their resume, and they now will make appointments. Well, they've been doing it for a while, but right as of this semester, our staff members, our career advisors will be utilizing Handshake only and not STARS in terms of receiving appointments from students. And the reason we did that and had conversation with my supervisor and just in how we want to move forward that Handshake is a platform that we want to do a lot more work, right? And so we want to get folks acclimated, especially obviously our students, to making appointments with our counselors using Handshake. And so if they have questions about that, they can always call and team message me if you need to to walk them through that process. And I do have some information, and I'll make sure that I send it to Kate, and you can distribute that, Kate, about how to actually start your account on Handshake. Because every student will be prompted, all their information. I shouldn't say all their information, but the information needed to actually register already be in Handshake. They just have to fill in their profile, basically. And so that's the hub where we want to build and have all the information for career services, all the data that we need, because that's been a gap for us to gather data. How many students are using it? How many students are getting employed once we have all of these wonderful events that we have, including our career fair that's coming up on October 10th. So it's going to become the place where we have all this information. And even as we build out a more structured process for internship, there's also a piece on Handshake where students can put their information, employers can put their information, and we can gather that information. And we hope to encourage departments across the campus to utilize Handshake in that way as well. Okay. So that's a big thing. Handshake is like huge for us. That's where all the events are. Again, that's where all students can make their appointments. That's where students can register for our upcoming career fair. They can see what employers will be coming. Employers also utilize it. All of an initial vetting is done through Handshake for all the employers that we have that will interact with our students. There's a lot of fraudulent employers and fraudulent job postings, and you'll see, you may have heard that through career services, and also I know that CNIT is also doing some of that, giving some information regarding fraudulent job opportunities, fraudulent employers, and making sure that our students and our alumni are as well are aware of what that looks like. Because unfortunately, even though we send out this information, we still have had some students who have been victims of fraudulent employers. And so we send that out every so often. Big Interview is another platform that we use. These are all the tools that I'll talk about next were tools that we actually implemented or you started to utilize more during the pandemic, but have continued to utilize them because we want our students to have both a virtual and an in-person experience with all of our resources. So Big Interview is another resource that I encourage students to utilize, and it's an opportunity for them to literally, if they're on their phone, if they're at home, to record themselves answering specific questions that they've selected and practice their interviewing skills. And they can save that recording and share it with their mentor, share it with a career advisor, and they can talk about how well they did, what things they need to work on. So it's just another tool for our students to utilize. Forge, and also on Big Interview, you can create a resume. Obviously, it's not going to be the type of resume that you would need to get some extra help with. That's important as well, but it's just a starting point, I believe. So there's some resume creation on there. Forge is another tool that we have. Forge and Parker doing online opportunities for students to do short-term like experiences online, get some sort of a certificate or experience. So those are all online, internships or even projects. Career Spots and the Job Search Ready Guide and the Career Ready Guide are all parts of the Career Spots video channel that we have. And I'm probably spending a little too much time on these tools, but I just want to make sure that you have just an overview of it. So the Career Spots videos talk about everything from what to wear in an interview, which that's changed a lot, to what the importance of an internship, the importance of being a professional, the importance of your elevator pitch, and they're all given by people. These aren't old videos like from the 19. These are up to date. Thank goodness. I go on there ever so often just to make sure it's like, okay, we want to make sure that these are relevant. Our students will actually want to utilize these videos. So, and if we have time, I can always go to that page and you can take a look. There's also a job search guide. The job search guide, the career ready guide specifically, uh, we encourage like even faculty members to use the career ready guide because actually there's a curriculum in there that walks the students through different aspects of career readiness. And so that's just something that we encourage our faculty members and anyone, actually anyone who's teaching to utilize that as well. And then again, here are some of the resources that for faculty and staff, just the things how we collaborate with our campus partners, both staff and faculty, with resume writing, the career fair, uh, resources for the classroom, job searching workshops. So there are just so many different ways that we can um, collaborate with you as advisors, with faculty and staff members. So these are just some of the things that we do, not everything we do. I like to say, and I believe is true, is that career services is probably one of the departments that collaborates with just about everybody on campus. So if there are ways that we can find that the College to Career Initiative, the career readiness information that we have, the career competencies information that we have, the way to build that into something that you're sharing with students, that's certainly something that we want to do. Many of you probably already seen this, and then we'll continue to tweak this even more, but just having a career readiness plan in terms of how we would like to see our students engage with our office. Like from the very beginning, I've been saying this since I started at Wayne State, is that we want to see our students often and early. So even that freshman year, reminding your students that you don't wait till you're a senior to come to career services, that you want to start at the very beginning with your engaging with Handshake, making sure that you've taken a career assessment if you need it, getting involved with student organizations. And many of us always think about, when we think about internships, like that's your sophomore and junior year, well, the preparation comes as a freshman, right, to get ready for the internship. So we want you to come at the very beginning, make sure that you have your resume ready for your summer job or your summer job shadow, whatever it is you're going to be doing during the summer. So encouraging our freshmen to start with us. And we have started to see, and I don't have numbers right now on this, but we are starting to see more freshmen come to our career fairs. Not just to look for a job, but to have the experience of engaging with employers in a different way that they've probably never experienced. And so we do encourage that. And just want to talk a little bit about where we were in terms of career services, just as a whole, as an environment, how, when I first started in career development, career services, it was more about job placement. It was more just transactional, like it was more reactive. Well, we're still working on the reactive part, I think, in many ways, because there's been so many transition in the work world. And so we've gotten away from that. And we're in places where we haven't gotten away from that. It's something definitely that we're working on. And so I would say this is where we are right now. We're continuing to transition. Many of you know that we'll be moving. There's been a lot of talk about that. And so hopefully by January, if not a little bit later, but at some point, we will be a part of the student success area in the UGL. And so I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the synergy and the collaboration that will come out of us all being in the same space. So at some point we'll be over there. So right now we're in a transitioning period. We have 3 counselors, as you saw earlier when I shared with you who's on our staff, but we're in the process, actually, we're in interviews right now, hiring 3 additional career services staff, academic staff. So that's very exciting. And they'll talk more about what they will probably be doing. And so that's very energizing. It's also probably a little you can ask people that work in the office. There's probably some trepidation because we are literally on the bus, and people, it's so cliche, but I have to say it. We are on the bus and we are rebuilding it, literally. But what I've told my staff and what I tell other people when people say, so what are you going to do? We're going to stay focused on serving our students, and that's what we're doing. So we continue to have events, we continue to invite employers, we continue to do the work to make sure that our students are coached and cared for, and that they are aware of all the possibilities as they transition from their college to their career experience. So, and then assessment, department evaluation, that's what we've been doing. Where are the places within career services, especially on the main campus? Where are the gaps? Where are the things that we need to work on? And one of those things was data, right? And so we continue to work on that. And moving forward, we will hire a grad student who will work closely with me on gathering the data that we need so that we can better tell our story. There is data that the state of Michigan requires from every, believe it or not, from every career center at every university. And so there are just certain information that we want to make sure that not only the state of Michigan has, but that our campus partners, that our employers have. And so the data is an important piece of that. And of course, inclusive excellence, making sure that our students have hybrid resources and engagement, and then increasing our employer engagement. One of the things that we have tried to do this semester is because we do have a small but mighty staff, and my career advisors will spend and have spent already a lot of time working one-on-one with our students, is that now you'll see employers that are on campus that they will be doing some of the career readiness workshops. Today we have an employer from an insurance company who's going to talk about building your own brand, building your network. We also will have DTE coming just before the career fair to talk about how do you best navigate through the career fair. I see that Kimberly has a question. Yes, Kimberly.
I was just curious, so having worked in the Michael School of Business Career Services, and now I'm in engineering, like, are they all coming together as one office? And can you speak a little bit about that? And like how that will go for the specifics of for the students?
Are you asking the question? Are we all coming into one?
That was my understanding initially.
Well, I think, let me answer it this way. I think that I've heard that that is the goal. I know that in engineering, at some point there's been talk about that, right? I don't have any like official knowledge of that, but this is what I've been doing. And I've been working with College of Engineering folks and then Mike Ilitch School of Business. And so we have met, we have to resume our meetings. We've met as a network over the last year or so. Those who are in leadership first, we have met bi-monthly, and then at least once a month with all of our staff, because there's transition in all of our career services offices. We haven't gone back to that, but we think of ourselves, at least Susan and I, because Susan obviously was in our office and now she offers leadership, Mike Illich. That's how we want to continue to think of it, is that we're working together and making sure that we are saying sort of the same thing. And then right now, engineering does not have a career advisor. So they're not offering any of the skill building or coaching and caring for their students. They're actually sending their students to us. And of course, there's overflow, and business is also getting it. So I think there's still a lot of transitioning going on. But I would say that my goal has always been to be that we work collectively, although we're in different spaces.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
And I see Stacy's hand is up.
Hi, so I just had a quick question, and this is probably more of a personal question, but I like your idea of working collaboratively and collectively. And I actually I'm finishing my master's degree in counseling in May. And I was just wondering, I have an interest, of course, I love, I'm going to stay in my advising role, but I do have an interest of trying to help my students get more ready for a career, because in sociology and anthropology, they're both very broad fields. So a lot of my students really do struggle with trying to narrow it down. What can I do with this? What do I want to do with this? So has there been any discussion about maybe bringing, for advisors that are interested, of course, but has there been any discussion about maybe, providing a training or some type of something to equip us with maybe some just initial early career counseling skills that we could use with our students?
That is a very good question. I think there's an opportunity for that, right? Just for what you just said, because the hope is that you'll have enough knowledge that you'll then share, okay, then I transition
Yes, that's what
the
I'm
students to
hoping.
us.
Yes, right. I
Right,
certainly don't want to take over what you guys are doing, but I would love to, because typically they meet with us first,
hmm,
and the conversation starts in our office.
right,
So it would just be good, again, I don't want to do the whole career counseling process, but even if I had enough tools to be competent to say, okay, take this assessment, connect with, just maybe a little bit more than I have. Um, and be able to collaborate back and forth with you guys, I think that would help. Our faculty definitely have the knowledge of the discipline, which can be a gap
right.
in career services, because we certainly don't expect you guys to be, skilled, knowledgeable sociologists. But at the department level, we kind of have a gap as far as, at least with the first few initial appointments, how to guide students and then hand them off to you.
So I'm writing this down, but just as I am thinking in the career communities and the career ambassadors and the data, that's the career communities is going to play into what you're talking about, Stacy, but the in general and how we engage with students. But what you're saying is having that training piece or that knowledge piece shared with advisors. And so I see an opportunity there. And so let's schedule some time to see what that looks like and work with Kate to maybe make that happen. So I know that we do share, and Nanette shares a lot of
Yep.
information about um, industry and forecasting and all that sort of thing. But I hear what you're saying about the assessment information, and so that could be shared in a workshop as well.
Yeah, that would be a great topic. She has done things on like readiness, career development, like what
Yeah,
are the key milestones
right,
in the student's journey to, from exploring to, awareness to like how that looks for a student. And then she's done some things on employer trends, what,
right.
what the current wisdom is um the job search process and what employers are looking for and all the relevant topics around AI and all that. So she's doing something in October
Yes.
um around that. But yeah, I think an assessment, specifically an assessment piece, because I think we need that reinforced. Like what are the assessments and what do they provide? And how does the student take those, and then what is the you know what happens after the assessment's done, and all of that would be great.
Okay. So, so that's in my notes, and so we'll work together to make that happen.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then I just want to talk briefly about where we're going. We already kind of mentioned that has been talk of there being more of a, where Kimberly said it well, that us all working together as career services offices. You can see that happening, but I honestly don't know how that all it will look. But I think, as I said before, in my estimation, is continue to work with all the offices in a way that will make sense and make sure that our students have the services that they need. So that's my point of view. And so moving forward, like college to career, obviously that is a big thing for us here. That is what our president has initiated. And that's one of her major goals is making sure that every student has some sort of career experience before they leave the university, whether it's volunteer, which I really want students to be paid. So volunteer is important, but like a 1 day or job shadow, I think is important, but an internship, or some students will do practicums, but whatever it is that looks like, so make sure that students have that experience before they actually leave the university. And one of the things that I've been talking about and have shared and my boss we've talked about this is career communities, and career communities is really um, talking to students, building relationships based on their majors and some more intentional. And it will take more, staff members to be able to do this well. But focusing on being where the students are as career advisors. So going to where they are, having, this is just an example, a monthly get together. What are your needs? what are we doing? How can we help you? That sort of thing. But basing it on some of those, like you just said, Stacy, maybe it's sociology, and I happen to have both my degrees in history. And so people are always like, so what would you do with a history degree if you're not teaching history? Well, I could be a career services director. So, I mean, it's just thinking about expanding how you think about and helping students to do that, right? So there's always not that straight line to what your major is and to what your career will be. So the career communities, I think, is going to be a really good piece. And then our career ambassadors, which I'm excited about because that means our students will be, they already are in our office, I feel like, and I'm probably, I know I'm biased, but I think we have great student assistants who have done some amazing things for us. They've done workshops, they've represented us, they've um, done some really, some lower level coaching with some students to encourage them to utilize our services and to be a part of career services. And so for us really building it out, it's like having actual students who are working and doing that foundational piece of reviewing resumes, that foundational piece of how to get your Handshake profile up and running. Some not taking away from any of our professionals or academic staff, because what they will do is have the more in-depth evaluation. I almost said interrogation, but that's not what I meant. That more in-depth uh, consultation and coaching with students, but our career ambassadors are going to do that baseline, and so to triage the questions that the students may have. And so looking forward to that, looking forward to the students that are part of the career ambassador program and getting a really rich experience and learning more about um, what career services is, how they can take advantage of career services, and how their skills can work in that capacity. But then also thinking about those to give them opportunity to see like, okay, so I could actually have a career in higher ed. And like none of us necessarily go to school. I mean, some there are people that may say that I want to be a faculty member or professor, and that's fine. But our students are, and even myself, I didn't go to when I was younger and say, well, you know what, I think I want to be director of career services one day. Because I had not even thought about it. But it's one of the best things, even as a career advisor. I loved it then and I love what I do now. I don't get to see students quite as much, but um, just expanding your knowledge of like, what does it mean to work at a university? So that's also something that comes out. And then data. So these are the three things that moving forward, I believe we'll be working on: building the career communities with the schools and colleges across campus, the career ambassador program that we'd like to start and hopefully will be implemented by next fall. We'll do some pilot beginning soon. And then that data piece, really being able to tell our story, really collecting the data that will tell us, yes, because we had a career fair on October 10th, 30 of our students got a job, or 100 students got a job. So really being able to tell our story better. So connecting those pieces, because we do a lot of work. We do engage with a lot of employers. But what does that all mean? And how can we better help tell our story, not only our story, but the story of Wayne State and Wayne State students and social mobility? And this is just some of the other things when I think about where are we going. I think about obviously elevating our services and then that formal internship process, because there's a lot of internship programs going on all across campus. People are keeping the data on spreadsheets, but what we hope to do and what we intend to do is to have all the information in one place, one hub, and that would be Handshake. And so when people are asking me, so do you know how many internships? Yeah, I know what's come through this office, but what about throughout the university? So that when the president has and wants that question answered, we know where to go because all the information is in one space. That data is collected in one space. And then life design, which is something that I've thought a lot about, share the life design information, working, designing your work life, designing your life, a theory started by two architects. Yeah, they're architects, professors at Stanford, about not just about like, here we're telling our students what to do, but we're helping them design their life. We're helping them to solve problems, and that's really what we want them to do, be able to do as they walk away. And that's what a well-designed life looks like. And Susan Crowley and I have had the opportunity to go to Oakland University, where they have a career and life design, their career and life design center, which it was their career center, but now they've redesigned it and renamed it as career and life design. And their career services director, Kelly Dorner, she actually is trained in the life design philosophy, and we hope to bring her here and do some training and some learning with all of us, because it's not just about career services in terms of the life design. It's a whole, it's for everybody, but I hope to bring that over and we all be trained in that. And then you'll see the other things, supporting the schools and colleges, making sure that every career advisor gets to own, not own, but partners intentionally with College of Education, which right now James Hearns, he works closely with the College of Education and does a lot of work with them. You'll see Nanette, she does a lot of work with class, but breaking it down even more. And then our Career Advisory Council, which we hope to resume. And then finally creating that culture of college to career. And then just two major events. Well, we have a lot of events coming up. I put both of the flyers in the chat, but our major event that's coming up that I'm working on, we're all working on, not just me, is our All Majors Career Fair. Right now we have 66 employers, and we will welcome them to the campus on October 10th from 12, and it's not 12 to 4, it's 12 to 5. And then National Career Development Month, which Nanette McCleary, that is her event, and you'll see a lot of events around National Career Development Month. And so I've done a lot of talking. And so if you have any questions or comments or things to add, I'd be glad to, I welcome those.
I'm just really impressed by the career events that you have. There's so many of them. So
And
many
some of them,
journeys.
most of them are ours, but also some of them, and I should have said, some of them are either like College of Business, I'm sorry,
Sure.
Mike Miller School of Business. And some of them might be some of our colleagues too, but most of them are career services.
Great.
And then I see Lauren Orr has a question now.
Hi, thank you. I was wondering if it's possible for advisors who do not also have like a, either past or current student role at the university to have a Handshake account, just so that we can see what students are seeing, help you sort of amplify events that might be relevant to our students. Because I know currently when I go to the page and it'll list an event and I'll click on it for more information, and it just, gives me the Handshake login as opposed to the info. Is that a possibility for us to be able to get into the system that way?
I think that's something that we're definitely thinking about, because we want you to be able to share that information. So why don't you just reach out to me and we can talk about that and walk through it with you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And I'm sorry, my information I did not put on here, it's just generic. But if you put my name in the search, I'm gonna get out of here. Stop sharing for a moment. Oh yes, please share the flyers with students, both of the flyers, and we'll be sending them out. We've been sending them out periodic too. I see Michelle has a question. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Doing well, thanks. I appreciate your talk and it's good to see you again. My question is surrounding the internships and internship programs. I know that the university would really like to see students participate in paid internships, preferably, and I understand that. I guess my question comes where, like a third of the nation's economy is run and directed by nonprofit organizations.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes you know, there are lots of wonderful, legitimate career opportunities involved in nonprofit organizations, but they often don't have the funding that like a corporation will have.
Yeah.
Has there been any discussion within the university about how to potentially supplement or offset the cost of the credit hours connected with doing an internship for a nonprofit? Sort of like, you know, not being penalized in some way
Right.
for assisting, or has there been any talk, or is there any way that I can advocate for that?
Well, I think you can advocate for it, and I can't speak totally for senior leadership, but I know there has been conversation about making sure that happens, because even in career services, we also support students getting paid for their internships. And our national body that we belong to, which is National Association of Colleges and Employers, has done a lot of work and research in terms of students who generally are not paid, believe it or not, are usually our marginalized students. So there's a harm that's caused to them, right? And we have students who are not only coming to school, but they're also working, they're also parents. And so I'm pretty adamant about our students getting paid. Like I think that's just so important. And so, yes, I know that there has been conversation about it. And yes, we should, I believe, this is what I believe, we should try to figure that out, whether it's a work study situation, they make sure they get paid, or it's a stipend, and obviously you can always, we want them to have the credit. You can either do like a 0 credit, or there are some majors that require it. So it's 3 credits or whatever credit students, but there should be some way that we can imagine how students can still get paid and get the experience. So I think it's important for all of us to advocate that, to be honest, because Wayne State students deserve that, right? And just nationally across I happen to be on the advocacy committee for NACE, for National Association of Colleges and Employers. And one of the things we talk about, even in legislation, like we've advocated for students getting paid when it comes to internships. To me, it's truly important. So I think it's something we can figure out.
Thank you.
Anyone else? See Mary on there. Hi, Mary.
Hey, Sean, great presentation.
Oh, thank you. Good to see you. Anyone else have any questions for me? Well, if there aren't any other questions, I so appreciate this opportunity to share with you. And now you know who I am, and you can you can reach out to me if you have questions. And I'm really open to suggestions, because my mind is career services, right? And so I don't always see the other side. But so if you have suggestions on how we might better collaborate, how we might better support our students, I'm always open to that.
That's awesome. I appreciate that so much. And I will follow up for sure on the assessment. So I don't know, call it a training or just like an overview, and what we need to know with Stacy was saying about, what can we do within our office, not as a substitute for referring to your office, but just to kind of get students thinking along the right lines. And I think the assessment piece is critical. So this was great. I'm going to stop the recording right now. And